he really appreciates you guys too.
Oh, he's welcome.
What's going on? Yeah. I can stay so strong. We gon' take it to the justice system. And we gon' take it with the innocent victims. And we gon' holler at the guilty party. Cause what we tryna do is harm somebody. And we gon' take it to the justice system. And we gon' take it with the innocent victims. And we gon' holler at the guilty party. Cause what we wanna do is harm somebody. If you don't hear about it, you may just read about it. You won't think about it, cause we about to speak about it. Why the prisons be so crowded, all filled up with melanin. Kick screamed and we shouted, we deserving better than we been getting. Now it's time to listen. Throw me them keys, open that cage, everybody ain't in prison. Now this dirty system, shady laws, lock us up without a cause, making sure our family stay broken, cause they perish off.
Hey everyone, welcome to Women of the War. We are back. This is our Sunday to be here. Everybody's back. I'm so excited. Charlie, Wilfredo, Indira, KP2 Rights. How you doing? How's everybody's Sunday going? I want to thank you all for being a part of this amazing team and following us. If you have any questions, if you want to ask us any questions, we have a special guest, Richie NG, who will be calling in later. And anything that we're talking about, you want to chime in, you can call us at 914-335-0487. So my team, how are you guys doing? What's going on in your lives? Let me know. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm great. It's great to be back. I'm sorry I missed last month. Life is good. Just trying to fight the fight and spread the word and, like that.
Okay, Wilfredo, you are what, 90 days home now? Wilfredo, you're frozen. Fredo. Okay, we'll get back to you. KP2 Rights, we are sorry for your loss. We are so happy to have you back. What's going on with you, girl? You beautiful brown queen. How you doing? What's your new book out? You doing big things out there.
Yes, it's my third book. And I am excited about it because the actual third book is entitled, You Don't Have the Right to Remain Silent. I know what the Miranda rights say, but hey, it's time to speak up on what's going on in our community. Yes, so you don't have the right to remain silent, and we're here to tell you that I can help you turn your story into a play, a stage play.
Okay. And how can we get your book? You have the right to remain silent. Like where we can get it?
Silent.
Yes, it's www.bookplaywright, because that's me. I'm going to be booked all over the world, speaking on different stages. Book playwright.
All right. Indira, our resident diva and queen, how you doing?
I'm good.
And and she went on her first family rehabilitation program. How was it?
Well, you see, the hair is a little different now. You go in a different person, obviously. No, it was a little different than it was described. I think we had a podcast last month, and it was basically portrayed as like a trailer of horrors. And it's actually not that bad. It's like a little retreat, mind that the prison walls are all around you and fences. But if you ignore that, it's pretty decent, pretty clean. It wasn't bad at all. It was nice. It was refreshing to actually be able to touch somebody. We haven't been able to do it for like 2 years, touch hands, anything.
Yeah.
So, it was a refreshing experience.
How was your husband? Did he love it? Was he okay?
Hello. Do they?
That's great. I am so happy for you guys. Wilfredo, you are frozen. Can you hear us at least to talk?
Yes, I can.
Okay, yay! So tell us what's going on with you. How long have you been home? What's been going on? Let everybody know, like, you are doing big things out there. Please share with us.
Well, I'm about 2 days off of 90 out, off a 20-year prison stint. I'm enjoying myself and taking it one day at a time. Columbia University has been more than generous with the employment opportunities. I'm now a math tutor for the Columbia Business School. I've been invited to a couple of speaking engagements. I now mentor a couple of at-risk youth for the Center of Justice at Columbia University. And what I've just been doing is just entrenching myself in a lot of community work and being able to kind of tether myself to Columbia University and increase and strengthen the voice of the incarcerated, and to let them know that the Elder Bill and the Fair and Timely Act is something that needs to be, already put through. So a lot of the men can have an opportunity to go home instead of squandering a lot of their golden years in prison.
Great. I am so happy for you, and congratulations again. You are such an epitome of you could come out and do great. Like, I am just so happy. Indira, before, before we were behind the scenes, you and Charlie was having a conversation. So can you pick that up?
Oh, yes. We were briefly talking about Alabama passing a law and appropriating about $400 million of monies that was meant for COVID and the pandemic to build more prisons. Instead of using it on a pandemic that's obviously still, we're in the midst of a pandemic, and instead of using it to fix up the prisons or more programs, or they decided to, or even just for us in the world, people in Alabama need this money. They elected to use that to build more prisons. And in the United States, we already have issues with building more prisons instead of fixing the problem and rehabilitating and having programs for the incarcerated people. So Charlie, we were discussing his thoughts on Alabama.
Unmute yourself.
Okay. Wilfredo, I'm so proud of you. I just wanted to say that, Wilfredo, God bless. That's awesome. But so what we were saying before we went on the air is, there's this history in this country, this cultural history of over incarcerating people, and particularly brown and Black people. And I don't have to tell you, I certainly don't have to explain it to Wilfredo. But fear is what drives all of this, what continues to drive all of this. And to use that money is so disgraceful. And I'm sure that there are strings in how money should be used. There might be rules and regulations. I know that they're rather strict in New York State. So I'm on the Board of Education in White Plains, and I know that we got money, but it was very strict in terms of how we could use that, at least in New York State. It's really amazing how many people we've incarcerated and how many people's lives have been forever changed by incarcerations that should never have happened, or if they did happen, that they should have been restorative, parts of restorative justice, rehabilitative justice, and help people become productive members of society. But we see what's going on, and now I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but on the Board of Ed in White Plains now, we're a very diverse community in White Plains. So I'm getting a lot of phone calls and emails from, you should pardon the expression, white people, not all white people, but some white people, who don't understand what CRT is, critical race theory. And they think that we're going to be teaching in schools that white people are evil or whatever. And my response to them is, no, that's, first of all, CRT is not taught in K-12 schools, but second of all, more importantly, what we're really talking about is teaching American history. It's not brown people American history, it's not Black people American history, it's American history. And having the people on our land, we need to teach the truth so we can figure out how we got here and how we can move forward.
Exactly.
You
I
know,
was looking at a meme on Facebook and they said if you read American history and all of it makes you proud, then you haven't been teaching American history.
oh, you know, I just read the book Caste. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the book Caste.
Mm-mm.
Oh, well,
I've been on my to-do list to read lists.
yeah. So actually, you guys don't have to read it, but you should read it. But CASTE, caste. It's about how in the United States it's a caste system, just like in India. You know, the entire structure of our society is to hold people in their place. So I'm sorry, I'm just getting off on it. Oh, Wilfredo, you're on twice. It's good to see you.
Yeah, this is not working. So
Actually, while we're on Wilfredo real quick, he forgot to add, Wilfredo was actually quoted in a couple of the papers, I believe the Daily News. He had there was a panel for Columbia University on COVID in the prisons and how more people died. What were the statistics, Wilfredo? But anyway, Wilfredo was quoted in the papers. Wilfredo is really going places right now.
Yes, like he's doing really great with it. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all stop talking. Talk. What happened?
I think he's trying to, he logged in from a different device, so he got
Yeah.
in order to speak.
The other one, you gotta mute your computer. You gotta mute it. You came off. Well,
right here.
okay, we can hear you. Okay, good. So yeah, so Charlie, you can finish talking, or Kalia. What happened to Indira? Oh my God, you guys are killing me. Richie NG just is about to call in, so we can ask him questions. You can ask him, you know, what happened, or whatever you want to ask him. He should be calling in like 10 minutes because somebody else just called and said he's about to call. So we're waiting for that call. But until then, Charlie, what did you Indira, you wanted to ask Charlie something else, not only about Alabama, it was about, I forgot. You don't remember?
No, I don't. I don't remember.
One of y'all posts on
What am I on Facebook or
yes.
what I do?
I forgot what you did so many great pieces. I forgot what it was.
Kalia, that's the book.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, I love that. Put it in the chat so people can see where they could get it from. Hold on. I'm gonna put it on the Facebook now. Because
Okay.
people are asking me what it is. Go ahead.
It's available anywhere. Anywhere books are sold or Amazon. It's Isabel Wilkerson is one of the greatest writers I've ever read. She also wrote The Warmth of Other Suns about the diaspora after the post-slavery diaspora, how African enslaved Americans began to spread across the country. She's an amazing writer. But Cass,
You know, it's kind of funny you mentioned that as far as slavery, because I remember I was reading things somewhere on LinkedIn, and it's something that had a unique perspective. They were saying they always want to tell a perspective of slavery through the African American perspective, but why is it that no one ever wants to take a look at it through the white America's perspective? I mean, there was a lot of things that ended up and transpired from there that rolled over to right now, how a lot of the correctional facilities still conduct themselves, as far as with Colecraft, and as far as slave wages, or even Jim Crow. When after the Emancipation Proclamation, Jim Crow was basically put in place to lock up people that will buy railroad tracks. And as you locked them up by railroad tracks, what you did is now you had them incarcerated in these correctional facilities, and you had them paying slave wages on $1, similar to sharecropping, only it was legalized. So sometimes we have to look inside the history and realize that it's something that was always subtle, but it's always has to be from our perspective. Why can't it be from the position of power that was there for all those years?
I completely agree. It was, look, during slavery, after the Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin, it was that free labor that allowed the Southern plantation owners to really develop the United States' first economy, which was agrarian. It was, planting and growing. And then you're right. Then the Emancipation Proclamation comes down, which they don't really teach. Didn't free slaves north of the Mason-Dixon line. So you still had slavery in the North. You still had a slave trade in Yonkers that they don't really teach about. There's a lot of stuff they don't teach about, and that's what I'm writing about. And it's people are so afraid to confront. Look, it's really fascinating that so Italians that came over at the beginning of the 20th century, they were not viewed as white people. And a lot of the Europeans that came over, if you weren't British, you weren't white, but they came here, and this is the only country in the world where there's that dividing line based upon skin color. So if you could pass as white, you tried all you could. So Italians, particularly Southern Italians, tried to become white, and ultimately over time they became white. And there was this dividing line that remains to this day in this country. You're either white or something else.
Yeah, no, that's true. Irish people were not treated the best either. Like you said, Italians, they weren't treated the best. They were discriminated against when they first came over. A lot of races, Jewish, Asian, when they first came over, were discriminated against. So not just Black people or Hispanic people, but everybody, they forget that that's not in the not so distant past. That they were, I think they called Italians something N-words.
Right.
They were called, they had a name for them. Yeah, definitely. But the bad thing is, in this country, there's always something that's put forward to divide us. Absolutely. Right now, it's the Columbus Day that just passed, and the statues of Columbus is the big debate. I saw a video, and the guy said, he doesn't know why the Italian Americans are taking it personally about the Columbus statues, because it's separate from their identity. We're not saying that it's a slight against Italians. It's like saying Germans should be proud of Hitler. They're not proud of Hitler. So Italians, as we know, Columbus, when he came upon Haiti and Hispaniola, that basically started the mass wipeout of the whole race of indigenous people in those islands, and then in America as well. So we don't regard Columbus as a hero, but right now it's dividing the country, and Italians are thinking, we're against them, and we're targeting them, but we're not. It's a whole separate issue. Like I said, the Germans to the Hitler, they don't hold him in high regards, and Italians shouldn't hold Columbus in high regards either.
That's the whole issue, is that unfortunately, when you try to raise history, real history, the full unabridged history, you get this backlash of people who think, oh, you're pointing a finger at me, you're saying I'm evil or somebody's evil. And so what I try to explain is, no, I'm not trying to show who's evil. What I'm trying to say, what we're trying to figure out is how we got to where we are today. And then how do we move forward as a people equitably so that everyone gets to participate in the promise of America? Everybody.
Exactly.
I mean, I understand your premise, but I just think we're too far gone as far as to find some form of equity. So I think what has to happen now is that we just have to understand that we're just trying to bring everyone on the same page.
Right.
I just feel sometimes that I'm not looking for equity. I'm not looking to grab a cab the same time you can, Charlie. I'm just happy to hopefully one week I'm able to catch a cab. So to me, like it's like sometimes for me, I feel that I don't ever want to run away from white privilege. I feel that's something that is a reality in America.
Yeah,
I feel it's something that encapsulates.
Well, privilege, either way, privilege comes in the form of many things. And I think that what Indira was saying about the funds going straight to prisons to upgrade the prisons shows a lot about prisons. Like, people are in jail now because of the money that they took for the PPP loan. And I'm not saying all of them took it.
Oh no, oh no. Now, one thing about it, Kate, is that ain't got nothing to do with that about prisons. What it has to do is systematic generational job security. Just like here in New York with the upstate prisons.
Right.
A lot of people in Canandaigua, a lot of people in Great Meadow, a lot of people in Buffalo and Rochester, they don't want us free Black and brown people because they've had endless amounts of generational job security. Officers, nurses, commissary workers, a lot of these people, blood technicians, dental technicians, a lot of these people have been in these small towns upstate and they've had generational financial security. And if you start to take us away from there, what happens is now is they start to lose their stature and they may actually have to work for a living and get an education. Right. And that's the issue with it that we deal with every single day.
That is so true because, I'm sorry, I was just gonna jump on that real quick. That's so true because one of my good friends that I grew up with from a small kid, he was in and out of prison for years. This last time he came home, like 15 years ago, he said to me, and I said to him, what was the difference? Like, what made you change? He said he was in Clinton and they were all sitting at a table or something. And one of the officers said to him, oh, my son, because his son was just born, he said, oh, my son is going to go into the family business. And he said, oh, what's the family business? He said, watching you, and I don't mean to use the word, watching you niggas. He said, this is what and he had a generation of officers, so that is like so true. And when he heard that, whatever that did to click in his head, he has not been back to prison. So it's true with the generational thing. Clea, you could go on and say what you're going to say.
I just think with the CARES Act, and I don't get that caught up into politics like that, but with the CARES Act, they have all these different fines that they're issuing about who and how you spend the PPP loan and the different, like Florida, I'm from Florida. So they are fining the school board because they are demanding that the people are vaccinated or either demanding that they wear masks. And that's crazy to me because they're trying to, flatten the curve of the infection inside of the school. And the people that took the PPP, like, definitely, I do believe that a lot of people went well overboard. But if you're using that money that was supposed to be allotted for CARES to build more prisons, then that should be a violation as well.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Especially in the midst of a pandemic, we're not done. So how are you allocating money that's meant to help people out of work, that's meant to help businesses that are struggling and failing, that's meant to get our economy back up and to make it sustainable? How are you allocating that money to prisons? Right. We don't know how long this is going to go on. We don't know how long we don't know if it's going to get worse. We don't know how long people will be out of jobs. We don't know how long the evictions, the foreclosures, we don't know. So how dare they allocate money to prisons when we're still in the middle of this? That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It's just an excuse.
Some people still can't go to trial because the court's not in session like they were. So it's like, it's right quick. And I get it. Nobody should be on the street. That should not be on the street. I get it. But just the last 2 weeks, we had somebody die in Valdosta, Georgia, in prison because of a prison fight. That means y'all don't even have enough people to take care of the prisons that you already have. People dying. Shelby County, Memphis, they dying in the prison. So why are y'all building more with lower staff? That doesn't make sense to me.
But you gotta understand, okay, you gotta understand this. Remember this: in New York State, if you're working anywhere in the hospitals, all you have to have is probably the equivalent of a veterinarian degree, a medical degree, in order to take care of us. These people are given out inadequate health care for decades and have gone unchecked for a number of years. So I understand and believe wholeheartedly, and I agree 1,000,000%. But when there's no system of checks and balances, when it comes to just medical, you know, a lot of these private institutions are going to feel like, oh, all right, let's build another prison. Because this way, what happens is in case the economy drops and crime rises, we'll have some place to put everybody. So a lot of times they're just hedging their bet. A lot of times they feel a house wins, but with higher education now becoming a big topic of restorative justice, and people like Charlie and platforms like this are becoming more and more valid through social media, where we're able to control the content. Now what happens is everybody gets the wool out their eyes and everybody actually sees what the corruption is really about. And now people actually want to change.
And it started at the bottom. I'm a teacher, and we done went from getting student loans to getting this education to be a teacher. All these years we had to go through this training, had to do student teaching and everything. Now you don't even need a degree. You can come in there, you can sub.
Wow.
Wow.
And guess what's gonna happen? And I hate that it has to happen, but one student, all it takes is that one student to get out of line with that person that's not trained to be working with kids, and then now that person in prison too. And we start over.
That's true. That is true.
That's true.
That's right on. You hit that right on the head.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. India, go ahead. I'm sorry, you guys talk. I'm trying to get stuff fixed because it's not fixed.
I just lost it. I did have a thought, but I just lost it. So we'll revisit that.
Well, back to what you were saying, Kay, as far as the education, and what worries me is that as the education is starting to increase and strengthen behind the wall, I'm feeling like with virtual learning, it's starting to weaken with a lot of the kids in a lot of the public school systems, because a lot of the kids need that form of discipline and that form of social interaction where they're able to just be around and create like these social schemas, like this scaffolding where they're able to navigate through different social settings. And then you can't always get that from mom. You can't get that from the macro level from dad. You can't get that from a lot of the homes, and it has to come through with everyday interaction. And I feel a lot of the private institutions and government institutions are weaponizing COVID.
The kids.
They just go ahead and leave everybody and go back to virtual learning because everybody needs a paycheck. So as you would, yes.
Think about all the kids that school is an escape from an abusive home. These kids are stuck at home. Homes that may be, not fit for kids. Parents abusive. School sometimes is a refuge for kids. Oh, yeah. So not only are we letting kids down with all of these, COVID things and the learning, everything's not in place. Everything's all messed up. What about the kids now that are stuck at home and they have nowhere to go? They have no escape. Like, we have to fix this now, like yesterday. Scary, and it's sad.
Well, it's interesting. We've got since school reopened in September here in White Plains, we've got everyone's back in school 100% of the time. We're back. We're fully open. Kids are here. But to go back to what you were saying, what we're seeing is, particularly at the high school, there's been a bit more fighting and a bit more antisocial behavior because the kids were locked up for a year and now they're back together, and we're seeing the results of that.
It's really sad.
It's true, because my stepson just got jumped on Wednesday.
Oh.
He got, and they filmed it and put it on a TikTok or something. I was so upset. I was so upset. He's in high school. He's in downtown Brooklyn, and he happened to be going home or went to visit one person or whatever, and they jumped him and they stomped on him and all of that stuff. And now these children have to visit. Unfortunately, they have to visit the prison system because we're pressing full charges. They beat him up. And it was for no reason, just because. and I don't even know what to say, what to do, because we have to reform our prison systems, our schools, and everything. But jumping a kid, even if it wasn't my kid, jumping a kid or jumping anybody to that capacity is very uncalled for. And then they film it and they put it on social media as it's a joke or something like that. It's just, we have to do something. Something has to be done, because it's sad. It's saddened me because he did get jumped, but it outraged me because it's our young African-American young brown kids that they have nothing to do, no programs, nothing to go, and so they're getting into trouble, and this is just like a continued cycle.
Well, what it is, social media, it's social media. I mean, the evils of social media, but social media is a blessing and a curse, because without social media, we wouldn't have people filming what the cops are doing, or crimes, various things. We wouldn't have that. But on a different note, social media, like you said, instigates a whole lot of beef, spreads a lot of misinformation and disinformation and mass hysteria and race issues, and it's all really just suicides, everything you can think of. It's just technology, new age. It's the age that we're in, but it's a double-edged sword. You can't really, get away with it. It has a blessing and it has a curse to it. It is.
I definitely agree with it being a blessing and a curse, because even adults don't know how to communicate anymore because of social media. Now everything, oh, I haven't heard from you in 2 weeks. Oh, well, I DM'd you on Facebook. You didn't get it? Like, how was that communicating with somebody? But I definitely, because, I teach in the school system, and I definitely agree that the 9th graders are really 7th grade dressed up, and that they haven't been able to communicate. It's little things, like they're fighting over nonsense. This person looked at me wrong, so now we have to fight, and it gets out of hand. My problem is, it looks like neglect, and I'm saying this coming from an educator. It looks like neglect on the school system's part. But right now, we are so caught up in trying to get the kids caught up in school. And then the admin is telling us to watch out for these cell phones, because the cell phones are just so bad that we don't have time to focus on the actual situation that happens in the cafeteria. That's because that's technically outside of our class time. They're in the cafeteria with a whole nother group of admins. So it's bad on both parts. And did you see, I think it was in Washington, when the little boy ended up killing the other boy, bullying the other boy, and killing him.
Yeah.
He was already charged. And not only is he charged, he's charged with first-degree murder. He's going to juvenile. Well, because he's 17, it'll be juvenile, but that's first-degree murder. And I heard of another student getting jumped, and now they're suing the school board because of neglect. And it definitely is. I totally agree. It's neglect. The girl came to you multiple times saying the same thing. It's neglect. But did you see that the Parkland shooter?
Yes.
Gets the opportunity to plead guilty. Like years later, he gets the opportunity to plead guilty in court. Just this week, he's supposed to plead guilty. And
how?
I guess because we've been out. I guess because the courts have been closed, it's just coming up. And it's sad.
So they didn't sentence him yet. He just pled?
Yes, he's pleading now.
Wow. Talking about sentences, Wilfredo, maybe you can explain this to me. Tessa Majors, she was killed, college student in the city. She was killed by some young Black teenagers. But what gets me is that they haven't sentenced the actual teenager that stabbed her. One teenager got I think 18 months. He pled.
He got sentenced, but he got sentenced to 9 to life under a juvenile.
No, not that one. There was one that got 18 months under the juvenile. Then there was one that got 9 years to life, and he didn't stab her. He actually told about the rest of them. Explain what 9 years to life means. When he's 16 or 17, right?
Okay, so what that means is that most of the men that's in the state, if they committed a homicide, under the age of 18, the maximum you could receive is 9 to life. Now, that's a loaded sentence for everybody now, to all our viewers out there, because that means that you might have been 16 or 17, for example, but once you turn 18, you are turned over to the Department of Corrections, and you will be amongst the wolves and the sheep. So my thing is, you're going to be 18 years old in Dannemora, Clinton. You're going to be 18 years old in Comstock. You're going to be 18 years old in Sing Sing. You're going to be 18 years old in Greenhaven. And you're going to be around hardened criminals at a young age of 18. So what that does is he completes his minimum sentence similar to mine with 20 to life. And when he gets to 9, he's going to go to a parole board. And if the parole board deems that he is not ready to go, he can be hit. The majority of the guys that I've seen coming with a homicide at a young age, they usually end up doing about 17 to 18 years out of that 9 to life, because they have an adjustment period. They have to defend themselves. They have to assimilate into an adult correctional facility. There's going to be a lot of fighting. There's going to be a lot of violent conduct. There's just going to be a lot of growing pains that they're going to have to deal with till they get to 21 to 24, when they finally realize now that they have an opportunity to go. And like I said, when it comes to these sentencing guidelines or these parole stipulations, everything's very ambiguous when it comes to the parole boards. And that's why we need to have a lot of reform, and we need to have people in there that have backgrounds in social work, that have backgrounds in a lot of different things, because there's a lot of connective tissue that comes with underlining just not why they're here, but how did they get here? What type of traumas or adverse childhood experiences that they dealt with that got them here, that nobody likes to talk about, that society just wants to, sweep up under the rug. But when the rug becomes the size of a mountain, then what are you going to do? You're going to start taking all the garbage out, or you're going to burn it and throw the child out with the water. So a lot of times they become products of the correctional system, because the correctional system's not there to correct, they're there to house. Care, custody, and control. That's all they're there for. Then if they're not the right group of people, then what happens is that they're left their own devices, and it becomes a devil's playground.
Wow. Yeah, that's sad.
Charlie, what do you think? Like, what is your thoughts on this? Like, it's just so sad, and I don't even have anything to say to what you guys are. I mean, I'm just sitting here taking in the information. But Charlie, what are your thoughts? Like, how can we fix? I mean, I know everybody says fix the system, but I mean, some type of reform, some type of education, something, so that even from the juvenile point where they can start learning to be rehabilitated. So when they get to the board at 9 years, they can say, you know what, let's give them a chance to get back in society, get a job, and be productive people in life, instead of putting them in Sing Sing, Comstock, Clinton, to make them even more of a, like, I don't want to use the word monster, or corrupt them even more.
Their brains are just not just developing,
right,
but they've already formulated that 16, 17, 18-year-olds that commit crimes, they're not fully matured to understand the process. And what really bothered me is, if you do the crime, do the time, right? But what bothered me about this guy, the 9 years to life, he didn't stab her. He was just there. He got caught up. You get caught up with the wrong people. Your parents always tell you, watch who you hang around, because you might get caught up in a situation. He didn't even know, she had got stabbed. And when they found out, I guess they turned himself in and, told about his part. But I just can't understand how somebody can get 9 years to life when they didn't stab somebody, or they didn't actually plunge the murder weapon, and they were just part of the group. I really don't get it, so it's just sad.
Well, it's, from the perspective from, living up here in Westchester, Pamela, you were saying it's going to take a total mind change and a commitment. One of the early shows that I was on, I said that until society understands that our children to Yale and Harvard, we need to own the children who grow up in different situations, who grow up in different sets of circumstances, and we need to prepare them for life as much as we prepare the other kids. But
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, it's simple, but that's a kind of a commitment and kind of a mind shift that so many people are unwilling to have. But it was very interesting. The president that put more money per capita into education behind prisons was actually Richard Nixon, which I always found
Wow.
which was really interesting.
Wow.
I think part of the issue was that no one could ever say that Richard Nixon was a bleeding heart liberal, but he understood the value of really bringing
Education.
in prisons. You know, because of my experience in going into prisons for the last 10 years and talking to people, I have a unique experience as compared to everyone I live around. And
Yeah, no, definitely.
you know, they don't understand that people are people, that things happen in life, and how do we all own this together, and how do we help live better lives? I mean, that's
Yeah.
Guys,
Well, that is.
I'm sorry, we have Richie NG on the phone. Richie, say hello to everybody.
What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up, everybody?
Hi, Richie. How are you?
He's calling live from Sing Sing. So Richie, tell us a little bit about your story.
Oh, well, you know, I'm one of them few dudes that I've been locked up since I was 16, you know. I fell under the juvenile law, then I ended up doing 18 years off of that. And I went home, and when I went home, it was a struggle, but, you know, persevered, and then next thing you know, I ended up with an acting gig, and next thing you know, they popped me on TV, they put me in movies. You know, I appreciate it, you know. And you know, it's just a testament that, you know, even when it seems like everything is against you and down and out, something will come if you keep your eyes open. Something will come, you know?
Definitely. Definitely.
So Richie, how long do you have left on your sentence?
I got 2.5.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I maxed out 2.5. I maxed out. God willing, if everything goes good, I should be able to touch down in April, you know. But we'll see what happens.
Great.
It's good.
So you have
And
a movie coming out too, I hear.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
The movie,
You
tell
have
us
a
about
movie coming out.
Oh well, the latest movie was the second movie. Let me see. Yeah, it was the second movie I completed before I got arrested. Oh, before I blew trial. I did this while I was on bail, and it's called Snakehead. Yeah, but they're having a national debut, theatrical release October 29th. So you know, check it out. Make sure you check it out. It's about Chinese human trafficking that's going on forever. You know, but nobody ever shines the light on it. And there's never been a realistic story about the struggles that Asian Americans go through when they come to this country. And this movie shows that. This movie definitely shows that.
And okay. So also, we wanted to ask you, how did you feel about they were, you know, attacking Asian Americans about COVID? Did you see that while you were in there? Did they, you know, did you get any like lashback on that about you know, the Asian Americans bringing COVID to, you know, the America? Did you get any you know, did anybody bother you about that while you were in the inside?
No, not at all. Which really breaks my heart to see the stuff that's going on in the streets right now. Because, all right, according to the general consensus, they put the worst of the worst in prison, supposedly. I don't agree with that, but that's kind of like the general consensus in society. And to this day, within the New York State prison system, there has not been an assault on an Asian American because of accusing them of this being the China virus or the root of the corona problem. And why is it that it's going on in the streets? Like, I totally understand the reasoning and everything behind it, but it's false information and it's stuff that, you know, at the end of the day, we all human, we all people, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's not going to accomplish nothing attacking each other, you know? And I hate to use this word, but when does it become right for the oppressor to become the oppressee.
Yeah,
that's my
that's
boggling
true.
to me. You know?
Okay,
As a person of color,
Nope. Go ahead.
I'm Asian American, but I'm also a person of color as well. So I see my own brothers and sisters attacking each other in the streets for no reason, and you're targeting elderly people. I just can't seem to understand the reasoning behind that. I can't even take a stance on it because I do not understand the reasoning behind it.
Yeah. It was, it's a bunch of, we had Trump out here, sorry, and he was fueling the hate. He called it you hear the venom in his voice when he called it the China virus. It was horrifying. When I was embarrassed at that time for all America, white, black, brown, that we had a president that could spew such vile stuff out of his mouth. So, I mean, it set the tone for how people were acting in the streets, and it was disgusting because an educated person, there's so much misinformation, knows that you can't attack an innocent person because you think the virus came from a certain country. That person's innocent.
And now
but I'm glad it looks like we got over it
some
now.
people born here, so they hadn't even been to China. So,
well, I think we got past it now, though, pretty much.
It did come out of China. I'm not saying it did, and I'm not saying it didn't, but let's, for argument's sake, say it did. All right, the people that are responsible should be held responsible, but that doesn't mean that
innocent people.
Citizens of the motherland should be pushed upon every Asian person of Asian descent. I mean,
exactly.
With them, you know what I'm saying? But if somebody attacks me because of saying that the virus came from China, even if it did, it's not fair to me. I have nothing to do with that.
Right.
So it's just that.
Hey, Rick, I wanted to ask you, what are you doing now during your free time being in Sing Sing to kind of like supplement the time you would have been acting or doing other things like when you were out on bail? What are you into in there right now?
Oh, well, I'm trying to get into the RTA class. They have a rehabilitation through the arts class here, and I'm trying to get involved in that and trying to further my education as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Got my GT.
It's free, right? Real Fredo, the education. May as well
Damn.
take advantage. Is it free? Yeah. Might as well take advantage of it.
Hello?
Okay.
They here. Go ahead, Fredo. Ask some question.
All right. Another thing I wanted to know, Richie, is what are your plans, or could you give us kind of like some insight on maybe if you're doing anything other movies, or what do you plan to kind of do with this platform that you generated by being in these movies? And, just kind of like, what's your vision after, whether it be April or within the next 2.5 years? What are your plans kind of coming out for like the first year when you're coming out, when you release?
I'm going to try to continue my career. Fortunately, my agency and my management, they're still with me because they understand the details of my case. I kind of talked about it before I went to trial, and I can't discuss the details because there's an ongoing lawsuit against me. Mm-hmm. But because of the details that they investigated, they found out that they're still I'm still on their roster basically. They didn't find nothing that took me off the roster, and I'm talking with the director right now, and we have some stuff. We have some stuff coming definitely.
Okay. That's
you know
great.
what?
Go ahead.
You know what, Richie? It's they say sometimes tough situations build character, and there's a lot of people in Hollywood who have been incarcerated, or they've hit rock bottom, but they've come out stronger for that. So I feel like your future's bright. If you just use this experience to make you stronger. You can do anything when you come out, it's not, I
totally agree with that. Some people
exactly
arrested, some people get rescued. Sometimes we find our path in life in here because when we was on the outside, we didn't have the proper guidance or the direction. And when we get in here and we see the potential for spending the rest of our life in here, it causes a change. First, the person must have to change themselves. But once they decide they want to change, there's many avenues and many programs in here that can assist us in our change and prepare us for our re-entry into society.
Wow.
Definitely.
Ricky,
It's up to us to take advantage of it.
Exactly.
exactly. I'm glad you have a great support system. Once again, the movie is called Snakehead, correct? And it's dropping October the 29th?
Yes, October 29th is the theatrical release. I'm thinking, I was told that it's going to be available VOD as well on the VOD. So if you can't get to the theaters, you can actually pay to stream it at home.
Oh, we're going to the theater.
Oh no, we're
going to
going to the
outing.
theaters. Like the Women of the Wall, we're going to the theaters.
We're going.
We're going to go live. So we're going to support you. Trust me. Also, did you win an award
I'm vaccinated. I'll get some popcorn and I'll be there, man. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Did you win an award for this? Can you tell us about the award you won for this?
Well, it's not so much as an award, it's being selected. It's very hard to get selected into these festivals because there's thousands and thousands of submissions
Yeah.
to get in. And each festival picks a handful that they decide that is their selection, that they select to showcase. So we were showcased at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, which is one of the top 10 film festivals.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Okay.
And that was when the movie was actually purchased by the production company and gets distributed. And the second festival was at the New York Asian American Film Festival. And the third festival that we was in is one of the top 3 festivals in the world. That was in the Toronto International Film Festival.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay.
To be an official selection for TIFF is like finding a needle in a haystack. It's hard. They get thousands and thousands of submissions every year, and they only pick a handful to showcase. And I guess somebody's seen something in Snakehead because it's been showcased at 3 different festivals now.
The trailer is bananas.
Yeah,
I'm
we saw
definitely
the
gonna see it. I'm
trailer.
excited.
It's bananas. So, Richie, let me ask you. So, are you like a black belt or something? Because you do. Is that you doing all the stuff in it?
Oh yeah,
Richie?
I had too many stunts or too difficult, so I was able to do it myself. But I've had some training.
Okay, you're being modest right now. That's
I'm a white belt. I didn't make it past white belt. I quit.
I wish it wasn't, but no.
Okay.
But I'm able to stand on my own. That answers the question a little bit.
Okay, no problem.
It is difficult to be an Asian person in prison because we're such a minority. I have yet to been in a spot where there's more than a handful of us in one spot. You know. So,
okay.
Luckily, I grew up around everybody, so I don't really just hang out with. I hang out with everybody, so I've been fortunate with that area.
That's great. That's great. So we are definitely again. Somebody just texted me. The movie is Snakehead, and Richie and NG. You can follow him on Instagram. His Instagram page is really great. He has a lot of pictures, a lot of stuff on it. His your team is great with that. Also, Snake, like I said, go to the theaters, support October the 29th because the Women of the Wall and Wilfredo, we all gonna go see your movie. You have any questions for us?
I have another movie that's on Amazon Prime right now. It's called Killer Man. It's starring Liam Neeson, Cohen, Diane Guerrero, and myself included. So that was actually the last movie I finished before coming in here. And it's action packed, man. I think people.
Oh, nice! I like action movies.
Yeah, me too. And what's it called? Killer Man?
Killer Man, yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna look the
Liam Nelson.
It's available on Amazon Prime and HBO Plus right now, and like I said, it's starring Liam Hemsworth. You know, it was one of his first major lead. Did an excellent job. And
oh, nice.
I enjoyed making it, and I definitely enjoy having people tell me that they enjoy watching the movie.
That's great. That's great. So Richie, if somebody wanted to, somebody just hit me on my other phone. If they wanted to send you a message, I can send them your information so they can write you.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. They just ask, can they write?
Mail is welcome. In here, the deprivation in here, what? I never really understood the word deprivation until I